through changes, yeah. The way that I feel, missing you more and more, baby. What do I do? Trying to fight how I feel about.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you today because I was reading through my notes and I was deleting a lot of stuff in my notes, and I was just reading a lot of stuff that I like to write things down, and sometimes I don't go back and I don't look at them. But I was writing some things, and one of the things that I wrote down was God is the missing hole in my heart, question mark. It was a question. My entire life, up until maybe senior year of high school or maybe junior year, I wasn't really feeling God, and I wasn't really feeling the God talk thing. Like, it just wasn't a thing for me because I didn't think God existed. I was going through so much in my life, and I'm like, if God existed, why would I be going through all the things that I'm going through, you know? If God existed, why is he putting me through so much pressure? Why am I struggling? Why am I not making this amount of money? Why am I not doing this? Why am I failing so bad at life? And I've come to realize, like, I don't know what made me realize that maybe he was, because I've always said to myself, I have a hole in my heart, like just a black hole in my heart. And what came about from that was, when I was 10, something came over me. One day I woke up and I realized, like, I don't have a dad. Like, in my eyes, my dad has always been everything to me. I don't know why, because he was barely around, but he was just everything to me. And at 10, I realized, this man's never around. This man, I barely see him. Like, I can only say I've seen my dad a handful of times in my life. And I'm 19 now. I haven't seen him since I was freaking, I want to say 10, but not really. Maybe a little younger. It's been almost a decade since I've seen him, literally. I mean, I've talked to him, but since I've physically seen him, it's been a decade. And my dad was everything to me. Like, I didn't see him much, but I knew that I loved him a lot. Like, I really loved him a lot. And, my cousins, I was always the black sheep of the family. So when my cousins would always, like, make fun of me or stuff like that, like, I would cry and I'd be like, oh, I want my daddy. And, they used to say things like, your dad doesn't even want you. And I never realized how much weight that held until I was 10 years old. Ooh, there's a lot of bugs. So once I turned 10, something in me clicked and I realized, like, my dad is not around. Like, I have no dad. And it took a toll on me. Like, it just really took a toll on me. I was really miserable. That's when my depression, I don't want to say depression, but that's when because we a lot of times our generation claim depression and we claim all this other stuff, but we're not really diagnosed with it. The thing is, I feel like, I don't know, is it really depression, or are we just sad? Are we just really sad? We're in a time where everybody wants to be depressed and everybody think it's cool to have anxiety and stuff like that. But yeah, that's when my, long-term sadness began. So yeah, that was one of the problems. I realized, my dad wasn't around. Also, at home, my mom, she was always busy with working, so I didn't really get any attention. My brother was always, outside. I was a loner. I stayed inside the house. I read books. I, just stayed in. I did absolutely nothing. There were times where I went outside, but majority of the time I stayed in the house because I was a loner. And staying in, like, just being by yourself and with your thoughts, Like, I stayed inside the house with like a million thoughts running through my mind, a million thoughts about, you know, my father, a million thoughts about, you know, not really being as close to my mom. And it really punctured me. And that's when I was in my, I guess you can say, my emo phase. You know, I listened to a lot of different kinds of music that, you know, people I'm mostly around don't listen to, and I still listen to it to this day, because music is like, I'm fine with any kind of music, literally. But anyways, that's when it that's when it began, and I was in my little emo phase. I just, instead of trying to fix my sadness, I dwelled in my sadness to make me even more sad. Like, you know how you're sad and you listen to sad music just to intensify the situation? That's basically what I was doing to myself. I was making myself even more sad than I already was, and it was just taking a toll on me. I I used to, sometimes I would come home, you know, and I would think about, you know, dying. I would think about cutting myself. I would think about all these dark thoughts. And now that I realize it was not me, it wasn't me thinking those thoughts. It was the devil that was pushing. The devil saw my weakness. The devil saw that I was weak, and, you know, that was him pushing all those thoughts into my head because he knew how weak I was. He knew how sad I was. So yeah, I used to always want to like try to, you know, I was suicidal at the time. I did cut myself a couple times, but it wasn't like, it was one of those things where it was like not everybody did it, but it was like, you know, people did it. People on the internet did it. People, so it was kind of like, oh, you know, why do these people do it? Let me try. But like after doing it a couple times, I'm like, this isn't for me. Like, you know, like I people have their own reasons for doing it, but I don't really have a reason, you know, for really doing it. I wanted to die, but not bad enough to actually do anything to myself. But yeah, so that's when that started. And just growing up, um there were times where I would reach out to him and he wouldn't really respond, or there were times where I would try to find him, but I couldn't, because my dad, he lives, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Whew. I'm so sorry, guys. But anyways, as I was saying, my dad he lives in Massachusetts and I live in Connecticut. So there was a, you know, a barrier there. There was really like no way to really get in contact with him. And growing up, it was just so sad. And, you know, now that I'm older, I'm over it. Like, the last time I talked to him was a couple months ago. So let me give you some backstory on my dad. My dad is a drug addict. He is mentally ill, and he let that take control of him, you know, by choosing not to take pills, by choosing, you know, every time he went to rehab, by choosing to, you know, just relapse every single time and not having any real motivation to want to be clean, you know, because, you know, I'm the oldest of his four, one, two. See, I can't even count. Anyways, I'm the oldest of his four kids. He has four kids, and I'm the oldest. Yeah, it's me. Uh, 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 uh. Mm, 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 mm. Oldest of five kids. I'm sorry, guys. It's really complicated. My life is complicated, but I'm his oldest of five kids, and, you know, he tried after me. He tried, you know, settling down with my two brothers and my sister's mom, and he tried to, you know, be good for them. But, and that was around the time I was 10. I think that was the last time I saw him. Yeah, the last time I physically saw him, yes. That was around the time I was 10, because I visited them, and I, you know, I hung out with them. I hung out with her when she was pregnant with twins, and, you know, my brother was, he was 3 at the time, I think, my brother. And yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. We went to Chuck E. Cheese. We did all these things, all these stuff that families do, and it was the best time like I've ever had. And it was like one of the real memories I can remember having with my dad, because I can barely remember them. But yeah, my dad, he's schizophrenic. He's diagnosed with schizophrenia. Uh, he he's diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he takes drugs. He takes hard drugs, not soft drugs. Like, he doesn't just smoke weed. He takes hard drugs. And last time we talked, he just got out of rehab, and he was putting a book out on Amazon, and we were just talking, and it was a good time. And you know what? I knew it was gonna end. I kept telling my friend, I'm like, this is gonna end. This is not gonna last forever for me. This this whole this is not gonna last forever for me. And she was like, Diamond, you just gotta be positive. You just gotta do this. You just gotta do that. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, this is not going to last forever. And one day, I texted him. There was no response. And that was the day I knew it wasn't going to last forever. He relapsed, he disappeared, and that was it. And I'm like, now it's just like, I don't have time to be chasing a 38-year-old man, you know? I don't have the energy to want to chase him anymore. I'm not feeling it. So, yeah, my whole dad situation was just a huge situation for me. And by the time I was like, and my senior year of high school and stuff like that, I didn't care anymore. Like, I just really didn't care. So I thought he was the missing hole in my heart. I thought it was him. I'm like, this has to be it. It has to be my dad. He has to be the missing hole in my heart, because what else can it be? Like, what else am I missing? Why am I so sad all the time? But it wasn't him. And then, I actually I started to pray to God, and I started to, because even after him, I'm still going through so much issues in life. So, like, I started to pray to God, and I started to, take God more into my life. Personally, I am not a churchgoer. I cannot go to church because, there's a lot of false prophets out there. There's a lot of, false people in the church, and I just can't be around that. There's so many, negative people in church, from my personal experience. And that's a squirrel. Anyways, and there's a lot of churchgoers that like to push church in your face and give you cards and all this other stuff. Like, please, even after you tell them, like, I'm not really a religious person. I cannot go to church. It's not a thing for me. I'm more spiritual and all this other stuff. They try to push it onto you. Like, no, please. Like, I promise you, if you go to my church, like, I cannot go to your church. But, yeah, I didn't really start getting into the God thing until I really started to, realize how spiritual I was. And even more so now. Like, now that I've accepted God into my life, and now that I've become such a spiritual person and looking into my spirituality and all this other stuff, I can say that, God has been the missing piece in my heart. Maybe just loving myself and taking care of myself has been the missing piece in my heart, because I didn't love myself. That was another thing. I truly did not love myself. I was always skinny my whole life, and then I started gaining weight. Once I started gaining weight, I just started feeling so down about myself. Overcoming, because everybody would just always, Diamond, you got so big. Or my family would just be like, Diamond, you were so skinny. Why'd you get so... And, it really depressed me. It made me really sad. because, yeah, made me really sad. And, that was another thing I was dealing with. So, now that I'm starting to love myself and just really care about myself and really take good care of myself and just all this other stuff, I'm starting to think, just truly being connected with myself, having my mind, my heart, my body all in tune with one another was the missing hole in my heart. God, he is also a part of that hole. Like I do not feel that black hole anymore. That black hole was a pit of darkness. I literally felt pain. You know how you feel pain so hard that it just hurts your body? Like, I've cried many days. I've been so sad. But, and back to, are you really depressed or are you really sad? We tend to dwell in our sadness, and it starts to make us think that, oh, you're depressed. But sometimes I'm not gonna say all the time, but sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes you're just dwelling in your sadness and you're making yourself even more sad, and you're trying to put yourself into that depression like state, because a lot of people think it's cool. I used to think it was cool. But yeah, like, so are you really sad, or are you really depressed, or are you just sad? Are you just putting yourself into that spot that you don't want to be? Because I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be happy, but I didn't want it bad enough. So I kept burying myself deeper into the hole that I was getting in. And my mom said to me a couple times, she told me, I do not want to go there, and secretly in my head, I did want to go there. But she told me, I do not want to reach rock bottom. I do not want to, dig myself into a deeper hole than I'm, already in. Like, I don't want to do that. And now that I've changed my life around and turned it around, I realize that she's right. I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to dig myself into a deeper hole. I want to turn my life around. I want to manifest all the things that I am getting out of life. That I know I'm getting those things out of life. Life is, a very precious thing that we most of the time take for granted. And, life has laws. It has rules to it. I was reading this book, and it's called The 7 Laws of Success. There's this one law, I think it's maybe, I don't know what number law it is, but it's called the law of giving, or the law of giving and receiving. And it talks about how the universe, everything is about, giving and receiving. Like, you give money to get money. Like, you give love to get love. That type of thing. So when we're sitting out here, giving out negative energy, giving out, sadness and, depression and all this stuff, we're getting all that back. That's why it's hurting us twice as hard. When I started to give out, because I've always been a loving person, to be honest. I never showed how sad I was to people. I was always, giving out love. But the fact I wasn't getting what I was giving back, because secretly behind closed doors, I was acting all sad and all this other stuff. But now that I'm not as sad, I have my moments, but I'm not where I was, in that point in time. So, like, I'm giving out all this good energy, and now I'm receiving all that back. Like, now that I've connected, and now that I've dwelled into my spirituality and decided to give it a chance and stuff like that, it's been working for me. It hasn't been long, but I just feel so positive. I don't feel all this negative stuff that I was feeling before. Like, especially, I've grown so much since I was 10. And if, like, my friend also said, I've grown since she met me, and she met me last year. I've grown so much since she met me. life is about growing. We all have the potential to grow. We all have, you know, we all have it in us to grow. We just got to choose to want to grow. We have to choose to not want to dwell in the sadness. We have to choose to give love to get love, you know, give happiness to get happiness, you know, that type of thing, you know. So yeah, I answered my question. I finally answered my question. After years of having that question, I answered it. I answered it. I just bit my tongue. I'm so sorry. I answered it. I found the hole in my heart, and the missing hole in my heart was just me. It was me. You know, I had to put in that work. I had to put in the work to accept God into my life. I had to put in the work to accept happiness in my life, to accept growth in my life. We have to be accepting. We have to be accepting people, and a lot of people don't understand that. You know, they try to not be accepting, and that's what life is really about, just being accepting. So what I want you guys to do, I want you to practice the law of giving. I want you to practice acceptance, and I want you, you know, to, if you don't like take anything from what I'm saying, research on your own to really make yourself better, you know, to give up this depression-like state that you're going through and dwell in happiness. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for another one. See you guys later.
It's a mental state, wondering if I walk away, will it be too late? I can't shake this feeling, cause my heart ain't willing to give up yet. Look, I don't wanna get up yet. We had our memories, our good ones and bad ones, but you gave me loving like I never ever had one. But now you with her, and baby I'm hurt. Maybe if we just put in a little more work. But now we don't speak, haven't seen you in weeks, and I'm going through changes, yeah. The way that I feel, missing you more, baby.